Welcome to RSLogix500 Micro Light Simulator, presented by the www.plcprofessor.com website, also by the PLC Professor channel on YouTube. This project began many years ago, and the goal was to provide people interested in learning to program a PLC a very inexpensive path towards that goal. So we needed software that was free, and RSLogix Micro Lite has been free for quite some time now. RSLinx Lite has always been free, and now that RSLogix Emulator 500 is available free on the AB website, these three pieces of software can be put together to give you a simulator. You won't have actual lights turning on and off to monitor the outputs of your program, but it's close enough that you'll get a real feel for what you're doing. The collateral that's available to use with the simulator are these three manuals. They were originally written as one manual, but it ended up in over 200 pages, and color printing being as expensive as it is, the printing cost alone was better than $30, closer to $35. And so if you put them on sale for $49.95, by the time you have handling and everything, you're really not making any money. So that didn't go too well. So I broke it up into three manuals, still just as expensive to print, but a person could at least try the basics manual, and if they liked it, then they weren't gambling their money, so to speak, to buy the advanced or the advanced 2. Then I decided, why not just make it available online as an electronic format? So I did that 6 or 7 months ago. So you can buy these individually, or you can buy them a bundle of all three of them on the www.plcprofessor.com website. I have been getting orders now for the printed manuals, because actually you can print these out yourself, but it will cost you more to print them out in color than it would be to just buy them. However, if you're in a spot and you want to learn and you buy the PDFs, you print them out in black and white, you're still going to learn the process. It's just not as exciting, I guess you'd say. So this simulator that we're going to talk about in this session, I've already tried it out with some of the lab projects in these manuals, and it works very well. The first step in this process of creating your, we'll call it simulator, using RSLogix500, RSLinx, and the RSLogix500 emulator, is you have to download the three pieces of software. Now there's a link on my website, www.plcprofessor.com. It's a little hard to get to. I need to go in and fix that. But the easiest way is just to type in RSLogix500 Micro Lite or RSLogix Micro Lite into your search engine, search on it, and then scroll down until you see a link that is www.ab.com. Click on that one, and here you have a list of the software that's free for download from Rockwell Software or from Allen Bradley. We need three pieces of software. We need RSLogix Micro Starter Lite, we need RSLinx Lite, and we need the RSLogix Emulate 500. So the first one you're going to download is the first one on the list there under free starter programming software, RSLogix Micro Starter Lite without RSLinx for offline programming in English. This only comes in English and Chinese, so you got to be careful what you're downloading. Download the English version there, first on the list, and then go down, when that's done, then go down to the third item, RSLinx Lite software. Download that. That file is 12 times larger, as you can see. so it's going to take a while to download. And then last but not least, you need the RSLogix Emulate 500. Once you have downloaded these, the next step will be to load them. And just in case you get there before I do, make sure you load RSLinx Lite first before you load the other two. Now, in the old days, the order that you loaded software for Allen Bradley or Rockwell software was always important, especially when it came to Lynx. These days, that's not totally the case. I have run into some problems with Windows 7 where I loaded up the emulator first, opened it up, says, oh, that's right, I don't have the links, etc. And then I had problems. I went back and uninstalled them and then reinstalled them. So just for the sake of expediency, after you download these three, load RSLinx Lite first, then the emulator, then the micro starter. Okay, this brings us to the next issue. You know, some of us have XP operating systems, some of us have Vista, some of us have Windows 7. In Windows 7 there's Home Premium and Pro and Ultimate. There's 32-bit and 64-bit. All of my computers are now 64-bit Windows 7. The first one I used the software on was Home Premium 64-bit. Everything loaded up and ran fine. The laptop that I'm using right this minute, and it's also a Intel i5 Inspiron, so both of them are the same basic computer hardware, but for whatever reason this version of Windows 7 Pro, when I loaded it up in the 64-bit operating environment, it didn't work properly. So I went to XP mode. So if you do have Windows 7 with XP mode, it's probably safer to run this software in XP mode. Otherwise, if you have an older computer, or you can set up a virtual machine with VMware. So I'm going to run mine in XP mode. So I'm going to go down to basically my start window, Windows Virtual PC, and I'm going to pick Windows XP mode. This takes a little while to start, so that's not too bad. Now, I've previously loaded the three pieces of software into this, if you want to call it an image, the XP mode. So I'm going to start Lynx first. So I started Lynx Classic, and I probably already have a driver. Yes, I do. So I'll delete this driver and do it from scratch. Go to the available drivers types, drop down the list, go down to RSLigix500 DH45 emulator driver. Pick that, click on add new. I never changed the name. You can make it Monkey Boogers or whatever crazy name you want, but I just leave it by the default name. Click on OK, and I'm going to call the station name, which would be my laptop. I'll just call that by my initials, TPG. I'll leave it station 0 and click on OK. Now I have the driver running. I'm going to click close, and you can leave RSLinx Lite running if you want. If you want to go to RSWho up here and expand it to see what you have, which that's all you're going to have is yourself right now, the workstation, because you haven't added anything else. I'll close RSWho, and then I'm going to go to View Options, and I'm going to uncheck Show Links Gateways in RSWho, simply because we don't need it. And now if we open up the double-headed snake up there, configure drivers, if we do the RSWho, you see the only thing we have is our emulator driver. So we'll minimize links. Now I'm going to open up RSLogix500 starter, micro English. Now you could have shortcuts right on your desktop here. This is a fairly new instance of XP mode. It was not on this computer yesterday morning. I was going to just try to run it in 64-bit Windows 7 Pro. So here's MicroStarter Lite. The best way to do this is to quickly set up a project, put some logic in it, and then get it working with the emulator. So I'm going to go to File, New. Now you see that the free version only supports 1000 and 1100 in the way of MicroLogix. I'm going to pick the simplest one, RSLogix500, and click OK. Now notice that this is darker blue than this. That's because the focus is over here right now. If you want to do something over here, you have to click here first and switch the focus. Now you can go up and you can drag down a rung to the green Mimi, or you can just click on the instructions and have them pop in there. Now there's several ways that you can type in tags or memory locations onto these two instructions. By the way, I'm going to hit the geezer button up here. See the plus and minus, zoom in, zoom out? Make this a little bit bigger. Now I'm going to scroll down. Actually, I'll collapse the program files. I'll go to Input under Data Files, double click. I'm going to lock it on top, right there. See? On top. I'm going to take and drag this box out of the way here. I'm going to grab this address, input word 0, slot or bit 0. I'm going to hold the mouse down and drag it over. See the red Mimi, green, red, green. When it's green, you can drop it and the address pops right in place. Now this is a memory location or a tag. An address is actually a verb, but we won't get into that in this session. If you want to call it an address, that's good. So there's our inputs. We'll go back down here and double click on outputs, and we'll also lock that on top just so it doesn't run away. And this says output forces, so if you go down to data file, it switches it over to the data file. So you can have forces, data file. So I'm going to grab this memory location, output word 0, bit 0, and drag it up there until I see that Mimi turn green. I call those Mimis, meaning please pick me. In other words, right now there's two of them. You see there's one over here, and it would let you drop it there, and there's one over here. So I call them please pick me's. So we'll drop it. Now we've got a rung. However, we still have e's, meaning it's in the edit mode because it's not been verified. So we'll go up here and we'll verify the project. See the little computer screen with the green check mark? Click on that. If the software likes what you've done, the e's will disappear. So now what we're going to do is we're going to save our project. And you can see I've done this a bunch of times before, and it's saved in my documents. I think I'll save it to the desktop. Save it to the desktop. Now I'm going to open up the emulator. So I go back down to the Start menu, and I go to All Programs, Rockwell Software, Emulate 500, RSLogix Emulate 500. Open that up. Now, see, that's already in there. However, if I had not already set up this emulator, you would click on Settings, then you would click on Emulation, and you would describe what station number. Okay, so basically, this little box right here really is configuring RSLogix Emulate 500 to emulate a MicroLogix 1000. And we're going to say that this MicroLogix 1000 is station 1. So I just leave the 1 in there. I click OK. Now, we'll pull that out of the way. We'll go back to RSLogix MicroStarter Lite. And you could do it from this menu right here. Download. I never do that because that's pinning the tail on the donkey. Now in this case, what we have is RSLogix MicroStarter Lite. It's going through RSLinx to the RSLogix Emulate 500. There can be no confusion where this is going to download to. However, in the real world, if you're on a network, you could accidentally download to the wrong location. So I always teach my students to click on Comms, System Comms, and this shows me exactly who I've got. I click on the emulator. Now you see we have a RSLogix500 there called Untitled. So you can click on it here. I usually click over here and then I go download. You can type in, I usually check that box because I don't use these revision notes. Anyway, click OK, downloading program, yes. Do you want to go online? Yes. Now, we're online and we might as well go ahead and close these IO database pop-ups here. We're in the remote program mode. When you see this little symbol right here spinning, you know you're online. However, you can be in the remote program mode or the remote run mode. Now, you don't have a key switch on this processor because you don't have a processor. You have an emulator. So we're going to switch it to the run mode. Are you sure you want to? Yes. Okay, now we're in the run mode. When you see remote run over here green, you see this is spinning, you know you're golden. You can ignore this force enabled over here. So what we want to do to test this is we want to turn on this input and see if it turns on that output. So you right click, select toggle bit, and you see that that came on. Now if we go to the program mode, back to the program mode, and then we switch this, we toggle it, you see it doesn't change over here. If we go back to, remember we've got this toggled off now. If we go back to the run mode, the first scan through, it reads this as false and sets that to 0. So conversely, if we go to program mode from here, if we click on this input memory location, toggle bit, you see that it's now true, but it did not turn that bit on because you're not in the run mode. If you then switch to the run mode, now you see that this rung of logic is reading an input memory location and turning on an output memory location. This software setup here, it's free from Allen Bradley, and the reason I'm pursuing assisting people in using this, my educational endeavor, PLCprofessor.com and the PLC Professor channel on YouTube, is aimed at helping people who can't afford to take the classes at Rockwell Automation or their local Allen Bradley distributor to be able to learn how to program a PLC almost for free. So in the past, I have, for people that did not want to build their own little hardware trainer with a RSLogix500 brick, 10-point brick, 24 volt wall adapter, and 6 toggle switches, I would build them and then sell them to the students. I never wanted to be in the business of building hardware demos. However, I always offered it as a service for those that didn't want to do the soldering or didn't want to wire up switches to a little PLC. This will replace that hardware demo. Now you still don't have any lights, but later on in another session I will show you how to set up something so it's easy to watch what the logic is doing. As a side note to my earlier description of setting up the RSLogix Emulate 500, I might have been unclear on one point. This Emulate 500 app is basically a PLC that doesn't know who it is, doesn't know what processor it is, it doesn't know anything. So to set up the emulator, you have to first open up a project that has been compiled from RSLogix Micro Lite, the starter package. So you have to go to, that's why we went to RSLogix Micro Lite first and created a little application with one rung of logic and then saved it. Then we would have to go to the Emulate 500 and we'd have to go up here to File, Open, and then pick the project and open it. And then here we can assign it a station number, so we'll make it Station 2. We already have Station 1. So now we have two stations, Station 1 and Station 2. So in this case, both of these are identical, but let's say that you wanted to emulate a MicroLogix 1000 and then you wanted to emulate a MicroLogix 1100. That's two separate personalities, two completely separate pieces of hardware. So you would have to create a project in Micro Lite for an 1100, compile it, in other words save it, compile it, and then open it up in the emulator so the emulator knows what kind of a processor it's emulating. I hope that wasn't confusing. Thank you for watching. As always, it's a pleasure to make these videos. This one was not rehearsed. I just had some time. I wanted to get this on the YouTube channel right away because I know there's a lot of people that are wanting to learn to program a PLC, and using these three pieces of software together is kind of a struggle until you realize what you're doing. Then of course it's a piece of cake. The only revenue that gives me any support in making these videos is from the sale of those electronic PDFs on the plcprofessor.com website. So I appreciate it that you don't pass the files around to your friends and other people who want to learn. The price of those three manuals in electronic form is, I made it as inexpensive as possible, so it would not inhibit anyone from learning. Now you have the simulator, and I may redo this video once I've maybe done a simulation for an 1100 and maybe added some more documents for the manuals specifically for instructions that the 1100 supports that the 1000 does not. So once again, thank you very much for watching and enjoy.